what about combining peaches with something a little more savory? You know, it really does work combining fruit sometimes with pork and chicken. So I'm going to make peachy pork chops. I think you're going to absolutely love this recipe. Starting out with some big, meaty, wonderful, boneless pork chops. These happen to be center cut from Festival. And the pork these days is so nice and lean that I like to just glisten it, drizzle it a little bit with some olive oil, season it with some salt and pepper, both sides. And then I'm also going to do some fresh thyme. Dried thyme would work fine too. And the way I do thyme is I just kind of take the leaves off of it and then just give it a rough chop. And that just smells so good. Now you could certainly do this on your outdoor grill. You could do it in a skillet. I'm going to use my grill pan. It smells so great. And you know, there's a little bit of history behind the reason people serve fruit with meats and things. Dates back way, way back. And that's how the whole pork chops and applesauce thing, remember that from the Brady Bunch? Well, that all started the combination of serving fruit with pork because, you know, meats used to be so dry and hard to digest that, you know, back in the day they'd serve a little bit of fruit to go with it to help things digest easier. And so that's a little bit of history, and it just also tastes really, really good together. So that's how that all came about. So I'm just going to do some fresh thyme. A couple teaspoons of that, or a teaspoon of dried herbs are always so much stronger than fresh herbs. So use, you know, I always try and I think double the amount if I'm using fresh herbs, and you know, cut it in half if I'm using dried herbs. Aren't these pork chops absolutely gorgeous? I think I'm just going to do 3 of them because I'm going to save a little bit of room here for the peaches, which I'm also going to grill. The other thing is that these are nice, big, meaty pork chops, so you always got to remember to season both sides with salt and pepper, and again, some more of that thyme. I don't think I've ever met a guy who didn't like pork chops. Bob's a huge fan of pork chops. And every time I make them, he's like, why don't we have these more often? My kids actually really like pork chops too. So if you're looking for something a little bit different to do, try this recipe. Okay, so my pork chops are hanging out. And now I'm going to make a quick, wonderful, buttery honey glaze that I'm going to brush the peaches with and also then serve with the pork chops. Real easy recipe. I basically got a half of a cup of honey, and I've got this on real low heat. 4 tablespoons of butter. Oh, honey and butter. What a great smell. I'm just going to whisk that together. And I just want that to melt. It doesn't really need to cook down or anything. Just melt the honey and the butter together. And then I'm going to add a little bit of bourbon, about 4 tablespoons, but you know, who's measuring? You could certainly leave this out if you wanted to. 1, 2, 3, there we go. Ah, there we go. It's all good, right? Deb's laughing at me. I think you went a little overboard on the bourbon. It's going to really give it some nice flavor. Okay, so that's all that was. Honey, butter, and some bourbon. And again, if you don't have bourbon on hand, just leave it out. Not a big deal. Okay, check on my pork chops. I want to get some nice grill marks on those. And that's how you get that crisscross pattern that you see at the restaurants. You know, they bring a steak to your table or a chicken breast, and it's just got that really, you know, those perfect grill marks. I'm just basically, I've got them going this way. I just want to turn them on an angle, and then I'm going to get those, hopefully, those nice grill marks. And whenever you're grilling something like this, it's just a on one side and then on the other side, and that's it. You don't keep flipping back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. You know, a nice sear and cooking on the one side for about 5 minutes, and then flip them over and do the other side. Okay, today's show is all about peaches, so you're saying, okay, Amy, you got the pork chops going, you got that yummy butter, honey, bourbon sauce. Where do the peaches come in? They come in right now. And aren't these beautiful? They're absolutely beautiful. And you don't want to go for the real soft peaches for this recipe. You want to look for peaches that are not rock hard, but they're a little bit firm, because we are going to be grilling them, and you know, we need them to hold up to some cooking. So I'm just going to cut them in half, kind of like you would an avocado. This is the way I do it. And of course that one didn't work. Well, we'll have to eat that one. That's not a problem. I will eat it. I was just talking to Lindsay. This one is a little bit ripe is what's happening here. Our pastry chef, and I said, you know, when it comes to pitting those peaches, it can be a little tricky. And she said, yeah, sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not. So let's give her another one. All right, let's see if this one cooperates for me. Yep, perfect. That first peach was just a little bit, it was more a peach that is for eating, which we will gobble it right up. These peaches that you're going to use for this recipe, you really want to kind of have them be a little bit firm. Let's get that pit out of there. And I want to leave them halved like this, but I do want to remove the pit. What's the best way to ripen peaches? You know what I do? I just leave them on the counter in a bowl. And that's really the best way, I think. Some people do the old brown paper bag method, and that may work too. Definitely don't put them in the refrigerator until they're nice and ripe for you. You know, if they need to ripen a bit, leave them out of the refrigerator. Okay. Flip my pork chops over. See, I've got those nice crisscross. Perfect. That's what I'm looking for. Get this guy over here. I'm going to do one more peach, and I'm going to really look for a firm one. That works better for me. All right. Perfect. Okay. Nothing like fresh peaches, but I like canned peaches too. I just really like them. I pack in my son Riley lunch bag when he takes a lunch. Those little containers of peaches, he loves them. Okay. Now, I've got this, you're saying, okay, got the bourbon wonderful butter honey sauce. What I'm going to do is brush those peaches generously with some of this honey butter sauce and get them right down on the grill. And there is something about grilling fruit that just takes it to a whole new level. I think people don't think about, you know, we've got the grill fired up anyway, doing dessert and things like that on the grill. Let me tell you, try it. A lot of the big chefs are doing it, and you can do it at home too. It's just so easy. Whether it be pineapple, bananas, peaches, they really get caramelized and wonderful. Oh, does that smell good. Wish you could smell this at home. Let's do one more peach. Just waiting for my pork chops to finish up here. Kind of like the first slice of pie. The first slice of pie never comes out as good as the rest of them. My first peach wasn't working for me. Wasn't peachy. These are perfect. All right. Brush them with a little more. And the brushing of the peaches with butter is really important because you don't want it to stick to the grill. And it's also going to give some great flavor with the honey in there. Oh, wow. Okay, Just want to check a couple of these peaches, see how they're doing. Getting some nice grill marks, and they're just starting to soften up and kind of sweeten up a little bit. Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. You can even turn them over. Here we go. How pretty and wonderful do these look? Okay, so how would you serve this? I like to do them just kind of on a platter. Gorgeous pork chops. Oh, look fantastic. These other couple I'm going to let cook a little bit more. They're not quite done yet. And then you take a couple of these peaches and just kind of serve them alongside. Just kind of maybe prop them up. And then a little bit of extra of this wonderful sauce. Maybe just a little bit of it drizzled over the chop and over the peaches. Deb, are you drooling over there? I know I am. And then we had a little bit of time when we first put those pork chops on the grill, so a little bit of fresh thyme on there. How about that? How good does that look? Looks like $1 million. You'd pay big bucks for that at a restaurant. You can do it at home. It's so easy to do. By the way, recipes at our website. You can also pick it up at any Festival Foods.